The Bible tells us that Jesus was once at a wedding in Cana. This is significant because it's the first miracle that he did. But what's really significant is this. It's the only miracle that Jesus did, where he didn't just do something extraordinary. He actually broke the fourth wall and he talked to us directly. And what he said has been hidden from most Christians for 2,000 years. But now we're going to read it together and I'm going to show you exactly what he said. Okay, let's go to John chapter 2, verses 13 to 14. When Jesus therefore had about 12 or 15 years old, he went up to Jerusalem to worship. And when he had finished his business, he returned to Galilee with Joseph, his foster father, and Mary, his mother. Now it says here that when Jesus finished his business in Jerusalem, he and his parents went back home to Nazareth. But there's one small problem. We know that Jesus grew up in Nazareth. So if he was just going home, why would he have traveled all the way to Jerusalem just to go home? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Well, the reason why he went to Jerusalem was because he needed to go to the temple. The Jewish men were required to make an annual pilgrimage to the temple in Jerusalem to bring an offering to God. And since Jesus was a Jew, he would have been required to go also. But it says here that Jesus was 12 or 15 years old at the time. So why would Joseph, his father, allow him to go into Jerusalem to the temple if he was only a young boy? Well, we can see by this verse here that Joseph and Mary didn't think that this was a big deal. In fact, they thought that Jesus was old enough to go to the temple by himself. So they basically sent their 12 or 15-year-old son to the temple alone. So imagine for a second that you're Jesus and you're walking through the temple all by yourself. What would be the first thing that you would see? It would be all of the people bringing offerings to God. And what would be the first thing that you would hear? It would be all of the people talking about God and praising God. And then all of a sudden, Jesus looks up and he sees something very shocking. He sees the leaders of the people sitting in the chair of Moses, which was the highest seat in the temple, teaching the people how to bring God improper sacrifices. And then it says that Jesus went into the temple and began to overturn the tables of the money changers and those who sold doves. So Jesus looked at all of these religious leaders sitting in the highest seat in the temple, teaching the people how to sin against God, and he got really upset. And he overturned all of the tables of the money changers and those who sold doves. And then Jesus turned around and he looked at everyone who came to the temple to worship God. And he said something very shocking. He said, "My house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have made my house a den of thieves." And that's when Jesus broke the fourth wall and he looked directly at us and he said, "But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses and for your heavy taxes on them. Is not the widow allowed to be poor?